Okay, Lauren?
Hello, good morning, everyone. So I'm here today to talk to you guys a little bit about the new financial aid program with course program of study. Backing up, I should probably start off. Hello, for those of you that do not know me, my name is Lauren Porter. I'm one of the assistant directors of financial aid at SUNY Oswego, and I am going to be your point of contact for any CPOS related questions, anything to do with course program of study. I'm going to be your contact for that. So if you do have any questions along the way, this is of course an open forum to give you guys the chance to ask any questions that you have. But if you have any students of concern or you have questions after the meeting is over, feel free to reach out to me directly. You don't need to go through any other channels or go through like our general email. Feel free to reach out to me specifically. Now, I believe I've spoken to some of you in the past a little bit about this, but I like to sort of start these meetings off with I just give you sort of a general idea of like why this is happening and answer some general questions from there. And then I sort of open it up to you guys for any questions that you guys may have at that point. So I can answer specific questions about students, I can answer general questions, but I like to just sort of start it off with some general questions I usually see a lot, as well as sort of an idea of like why this is happening at this exact moment, why these changes have gone into effect. So the long and short of that answer is we have to. This is a requirement from the feds. They are requiring us to put this into effect. It is new regulations that we got from them. Now, this is kind of a twofold reason they've decided to do this. Part of it is because they are trying to show they are good stewards of federal aid and that students are on track to graduate. They're not overstaying for like long periods of time. And also it's to protect students as they and like private institutions and like these for-profit institutions would often put students into classes that they did not need and extend their program out really far beyond what it needed to be just for the main point of draining their aid to the very bottom. So it's sort of a dual requirement they put into effect to both be good stewards of federal aid as well as to protect students. That's kind of why these have gone into effect. That's at least the Department of Education's rationale for why they've decided to do this. And they put it into effect, and we need to put it into effect because they've told us we need to. Now, the question of how does this go into effect? We put it into effect going forward. And generally speaking, the main thing to keep in mind is that students need to only be in classes that they need in order to graduate, at least for financial aid purposes. There's a little bit of wiggle room that I'll talk about a little bit later, but they need to be in courses that they only need to graduate for financial aid purposes. So that includes, for instance, I'm sure you've seen this before, minors are not considered to be aid eligible. According to the Department of Education, they are not full programs of study and therefore are not aid eligible. Now, that is something we have double checked with the feds. I made a separate appointment with a Department of Education rep who is in charge of policy, and they confirmed that it's still the stance of the Department of Education. So at this point, there's not a whole lot we can do until the Department of Ed puts in new regulations into effect. But anything that is needed for a major, anything that is needed for an elective, and anything that is needed for a general education requirement is all something that financial aid can cover. Now, there are certain things that we can do have some wiggle room on. For instance, students only need to have 6 credits to have their loan, or 6 aid eligible credits in order to have their loans posted onto their accounts. So if they're a loans only student, they may see no changes.
I'm sorry, can I jump in for a second?
Of course.
I can't find my little hand thing at the bottom to raise. I don't know where it
Mm-hmm.
went.
No worries.
Can you just slow down a little bit?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, so so um the feds are saying the minors are not aid eligible.
Correct.
And so I mean, I don't know. Are you going to talk and then open up for questions, or can we ask questions along the way?
I mean, both. I'm
okay.
sort of getting a little bit out of the way to begin with, and then it's just open to you
Okay.
guys to ask any questions you have from there.
Okay. So my concern is, for example, I'm in health promotion and wellness. I'm Sandy Bargner. You know, we have a major that will not get students to 120 credits unless they usually we leave it open for 2 minors and or prerequisites so they can go into grad school for physical therapy, nursing, PA, physician assistant, whatever. So, you know, I know Amy Bidwell wants to come here, and Min Jung told me you're coming to our department to talk, I think, beginning of the semester, but it's a huge problem. And I guess
Yeah,
we're
so
struggling with what to do about this. And then you said something about 6 credits and I lost track. So if you could just kind of go back to the 6 credit thing.
I'll address the first one,
Mm.
first concern first. So if students need 120 credits in order to graduate, they can take as many classes as they need. So if their major and gen eds aren't going to get them there, they can take those credits and those can be covered by financial aid. It's more they're going to run into a problem with these minors when like they're getting to their senior year and I only need 2 classes to graduate, and then I still need 6 classes to get my minor requirement.
Minor. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they
Okay.
are on there and you can see that like they still need classes to get to their 120, then I would recommend just letting me know that I can get it updated for them on their behalf. Of course, program of study is unfortunately not perfect. So unfortunately, they like it's not always going to catch everything, or sometimes it's counting classes that are needed as not being needed. It can be a little bit confused with things like course deviations and things like that as well.
Mhm.
So we can update it if need be. I just need an advisor to let me know. Now, going back to what I was saying about 6 credits, everyone's financial aid is a little bit different and it has different enrollment requirements. This is something that we can always talk to a student about. This isn't something we're expecting you guys to talk to the students about. It's just something to sort of keep in mind if a student is trying to get these minor courses wrapped up or they still need to take prerequisites or something like that. Refer them over to our office. It's not always necessarily a hard no that they're not going to be able to see this for or take it. I apologize. That is my um, so it's not necessarily that they're not going to be able to take these classes or they're going to see no financial aid, only that they may see a reduction in their financial aid. At that point, that's something that we can talk to them about to see like what we can do to get them to where they need to be. It just depends on the student's exact situation, what they need in order to cover living costs, what they need to cover tuition costs, things like that. So it is very dependent student to student. That's something that we can help them with. And the other
Okay.
thing to keep in mind is that for financial aid purposes, 12 credits is 12 credits. So if a student is enrolled in 12 credit hours, they are considered a full-time student. So if they have like 15 credits, they're taking 16 credits, something like that. Those courses, they're not going to see any additional changes to their financial aid. And from there, I'll just open it up to you guys if you just want to unmute and ask any questions.
I have one, Lauren.
Okay.
So is it true that anything more than 120 credit hours would not be financial aid eligible? Is
So
it,
that depends on the student specifically. If they still need credits to like get them to graduation, so like let's say they're at their 120, but they still need 6 credits or 12 credits, whatever the case may be, of major requirements to get them to graduation, that can all be covered.
yeah, if they're
It's more
major
like
requirements, sure.
yeah,
Okay.
or if they need like
I
gen
was
eds.
like Sandy was saying, I coordinate an audio minor. So, and we have, there are a lot of students at Oswego who are little overachievers and they have,
Mm-hmm.
multiple programs and major and 2 minors. And what I've noticed as an advisor and a coordinator is really panicked students who are actually doing really well. They tend to be the students who like
Mm-hmm.
way to go for it, and they're done and they're seniors and they're about to graduate and they suddenly can't complete the programs that they've been working for.
Mm-hmm.
So that's there's no way that this doesn't
Yeah.
impact the amount of completion that we're having with our minor programs. And, it all
Mhm.
snowballs into that, we're
Yeah. So what?
providing seats,
Mm-hmm.
for classes that have a lot of minors and ultimately they're not going to complete the degree. So,
Mm-hmm.
so it's frustrating for us. Certainly, I find that I just feel like there's way more questions than answers about this. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of our advisors are just there's nothing really to say. And what ends up happening is they just drop their minor as they're about to graduate,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate because Oswego really has been, I think has been great about, hey, yeah, pick up an additional program here. The more you can more experience you can gain is, it's going to help you in your future. At least that's what I've been telling people, when they come to sign up for a minor, an audio minor, I encourage them,
Mhm.
but then, putting them in a situation where I know they're going to be super stressed, and frankly, some of them are quite angry to be sure.
Mhm.
So
No, I
I don't know
understand.
what we're supposed to do. And it really puts a lot of, um, stress on the advisors too, because, what am I supposed to do? Just say,
Mhm.
well, that's what that's the way it is, so it's frustrating for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah. No, like I said, I understand that. It's something, like I said, that we have even double checked with the feds because unfortunately that is their rule. That is not something, that's not an interpretation that we have. That is a rule that they have come up with. Now, if you are advising students that are maybe in their sophomore or junior year, I would generally recommend at that point to just let them know they need to be considering these sorts of things as they're going through. Like maybe they're trying to do the minor, make sure they have the electives needed for that. We've also spoken to like first year academic advisors and things that even they're trying to get this messaging out to these students early so that they're making these decisions early so that they don't run into this issue as much. I would also say that in those kind of situations for these students that are in this situation specifically, send them over to our office to talk about it as well, especially if we can get them to like at least 6, 8 eligible credits. We can at least get them loans. We can at least get them some additional aid to try and get them through. It's very student specific whether we can help them or not. So I would tell them, like at this point, really come talk to our office so that we can see what we can do on our side. We can be the bearers of bad news if it is a situation where this
that
is just
that
the way it
that
is.
is appreciated, really.
Yeah. Mhm.
I mean, there's more and more put on us as faculty to give the bad news, and
And I understand. Like we're
and
more
it's a
than
lot, Lauren. It's a lot.
happy.
I'm not telling, especially the overachievers. I have to say, the kids who are doing
Yeah,
really
the
well,
ones that
they're like, man, you're just nailing it. Way to
mhm,
go, kid. And then like they're almost out of here, and last semester it just turns into like
mhm.
tears. I'm
Yeah,
not kidding. I'd like to have less kids crying in my office.
yeah,
So if I can,
absolutely.
if I want to help them, but there's nothing I can say to help, I'm
Mhm,
just going to have to say, go see Lauren Potter, right?
mhm. Yeah,
Porter, right?
yeah,
Okay, I'm
absolutely.
I'm I'm sorry. It's an issue for us, most
Absolutely. If
definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. If you see a question or see students like that, please send them over to either our office or me specifically. Tell them to set up an appointment with me. I'm more than happy to sit down with them and see if what we can do based on their enrollment and everything. Like I said, the main thing to just keep in mind is if we can at least get them to 6 credits, then we can do a lot more than if they're only in like 3 8 eligible credits or no 8 eligible credits. Try and spread it out a little bit more if you can see this kind of like an issue is going to be coming along the road. For these ones that are in this situation, like right now, I'm more than happy to talk to them and see what we can do at that point.
I have another real quick one. I'm sure it's a fast answer for you. I'll let somebody else, but double majors.
Mhm.
Initially, we were told that double majors did not count as well, but now there's some that double majors might count.
No, double majors are definitely both 8 eligible.
Okay.
Again, sometimes the program is our CPOS, the actual program that runs in Banner, is not the best. It does not always pick up those second major courses as being 8 eligible, but we can get that updated. They are 8 eligible. I just need an email from an advisor letting me know that I can get the students updated.
Josh,
Okay.
go talk
Thanks.
because Josh is going to talk about what I want to ask next. So,
Well, there's a lot to this. Yeah,
yeah.
thank you, Lauren. So if I heard right, a student who's approaching graduation,
Mhm.
who's taking major credits, they're 8 eligible. Even if
Yes.
even
Mhm.
if maybe a year or two before what they took isn't, or they change majors, or sort of there's an assumption built into these regs that students are perfect planners, right up to the end, which is just not true. But
Mhm.
I think what I'm hearing is if a student's approaching graduation and they're proposing to take something that is not in their major, that's when you got to be concerned. But
Yes.
if they're in their final year, taking credits towards graduation, even if they go over 120, that's 8 eligible.
Yes.
Okay. And that, and I'm not just thinking about study abroad, but it certainly would impact that. And that says to me, okay, seniors, you got to be really careful. But if you're a sophomore, a junior, you don't necessarily know what your entire program of study is going to be at that point. Anyway, as long as it's for credit, it's 8 eligible then. But really, that senior year is when we really got to be worried. That's what it
Yeah,
sounds.
the juniors and seniors are the ones that are going to be most heavily impacted by this, especially until like I said, we're trying to put the messaging out there to make sure the students are trying to do that longer term planning so that they are thinking, do I want to complete the minor? Do I want to do study abroad? Something like that, so that they can get as much in as they can and still have all of it covered by financial aid. But especially these students who, like, for when we just implemented this, they're the ones that are going to be affected the most as of right now.
When it comes to messaging, I I would appreciate that sort of what I'm hearing is a tone of kind of openness, but a little bit of street smarts too. Like, hey guys, get this done now, get this done early. Don't wait till senior year. I think that message is okay. I am hearing too, and maybe that's what Dan was referring to, through the grapevine or from staff or students coming in saying, financial aid tells me I can't study abroad. Like that's what they're saying. And I know that's not true. I know that's not
Yeah.
true. But that's the perception sometimes if maybe there's too much verbiage about this. Like just say it's aid eligible until you really got to watch for senior year. I mean, that's really what the concern is, sounds like to me.
Okay. Okay, I guess I can talk about that as well and just make sure that like the general messaging is like, talk to your advisor about what classes you need for aid eligible, talk to Lauren for like, if the A classes, like, these classes are minor courses, see what we can do at that point if you're trying to do study abroad.
Study
I
abroad's
can tell you
aid
that
eligible.
yeah,
That's the
our,
yeah.
our messaging is trying to be like I said, as open as possible with it so that like we don't want it to be a hard no for any students unless it absolutely has to be. And we certainly don't want them walking away saying that, they can't study abroad, they can't do something else, etc. We want them to know, like, we're here to help them with it. It's just we can't always we'll do what we can within the regs, if that makes sense. That's what
Yeah,
we're our
and
best
my
bet.
last comment on that is that's okay also for our advising purposes because seniors always needed to be really cautious about studying abroad because of the graduation requirements. So they should be thinking very carefully about their study abroad decisions in senior year because this is their last shot at
Yeah.
graduation. So that message I think would be fine. But what I'm hearing is that, and again, this could be a misperception, sophomores, juniors are being told you got to like plan everything to the nth degree to make sure your study abroad is. They may not even know at that point
Yeah.
what their major is
Like,
going to be. So,
and they don't need to do anything sort of like, that advanced of like, you need to be planning what semester you're studying abroad. More so, it's just like be thinking that this could be an issue you're running into. So be thinking about what your priorities are. So especially when we're talking to like the first year advisors, that's something we're kind of hoping that they'll put into their messaging as well. If you're hoping to do a study abroad program or you're really wanting to do a double minor, something like that, just know that you're going to have to maybe make some decisions about which ones. So just be thinking about which ones are your priorities at this point. And then if they do change their minds along the way, we can do our best at that point to address those issues as they come up as well. Because I know students switch their majors, minors. They didn't think they wanted to do a study abroad, but now, they want to do the study abroad because it really helps the new major, for instance. So, and then we can kind of address those along the way as
okay,
well.
I'm sorry, Laura, but now I'm getting confused because if a sophomore takes a study abroad or a junior takes a study abroad program, they're not even close to the 120 limit yet, right? So
Oh no, I'm sorry. I probably should have specified. I'm talking about like more like if they're in that space and they're thinking for my senior year, I want to
senior
take
year,
this. Yeah, no,
yes.
for the sophomores, they should not run into issues like this. And if they do, it's something we can address. It's probably more of an issue with the programming itself than like what the student is
Yeah,
actually taking.
it sounds like a senior year issue to me, but
Mostly,
I think we got it. Okay, thank you.
So, Lauren, my concerns, I don't know if I have a question in here, but something we might need to work on in advising students in their junior and senior year is the internship piece of this. It's similar to Josh's issue because most of our students, believe it or not, don't have to do an internship. We only have a handful of programs on campus that require an internship for graduation. So because students can't do an internship until their junior year, and a lot of our students opt into an internship, I can really see this affecting that cohort. And with our campuses push for increased internships for students over the next couple of years in our strategic plan, I think it's something that we'll need to have a larger conversation about.
Yeah.
Perhaps
So,
including in curriculum in more places because they are slotting as elective, as extra, as optional. And we want students to get jobs after graduation if that's what they are choosing to do. And that's going to really limit their success if we can't cover financial aid for these opportunities. So I know that's not a real question, but it is a concern of ours in experiential learning. Similar to Josh, we want students to have access to these opportunities, but this is going to create a little bit of a roadblock.
So Mallory,
Absolutely. So
oh,
I
I'm
would
sorry.
recommend setting up an appointment with like both me and with our AVP Rod, and we can talk about that separately, because if it is something that can be added to the curriculum, that might be the best way to go. Even if it's just an option in there, we do have a couple of departments that are putting in like optional coursework, like, you know, you can take electives or you can take this, something like that, to help students get these credits that they need or additional coursework they need for jobs that they need in the future. If we can put that in there as an option, that would be great. If not, we can discuss other options for those students as well. How many credits are these generally?
It depends. Most programs, it's
3 to 12,
Yeah.
3 to 12.
Students
Okay.
have different requirements for different
Yep.
programs, but typically fall and spring, they're doing 3 credit internships. Over the summer, they might opt to do a 6 credit experience just because they have access to orders. So again, we only have a handful of programs that require it. So journalism, health promotion, HDV, psych, but some of our minor programs require internships. So there's some nuance here, and we can absolutely set up something separate. But one of our asks for faculty this spring is to look at where we can place these options in curriculum, not necessarily as a requirement, but as an option that is front and center to avoid this issue down the road. But
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, Mallory, and Josh, one of the things, so I'm in HPW, but I also run the IPS Integrated Professional Studies program. So, one of the things that in IPS, like we have the internship added to each of our bucket. We have these buckets of electives, like you call them elective requirement areas. So we have an internship in each of those. In HPW, obviously we have a required internship, but we're having, you know, serious conversation now about, again, we have sort of these elective buckets and they have to take so many credits from each elective bucket. And we're talking about, heck, let's just throw all our courses in each of these buckets, right? So then they're covered. Like that's the curricular game you're going to start to see us play. We're going to throw, and we already have, I think, special topics in our bucket. Maybe we don't, but we're going to put it in there because study abroad is big in our department. And we have a special topics course that covers our study abroad, undergrad and graduate. So you're going to probably start to see curricular changes to accommodate, you know, like we have a bunch of students who want to take all these science courses for prereqs. Okay, we'll make a science bucket and say, yep, you take any of those, that's officially in our major. So it's going to become, I think, a curricular nightmare. But if we have to play that game, we're going to play that game because it's really getting difficult with advising. And again, I'm in 2 different programs and I'm not having to advise an IPS, but we do have 12 credits internships that people are taking regularly. So that's an issue. The other issues come up with, you know, students who come in from high school with 32 credits, right, of AP courses and project advanced courses at SU or whatever, right? They're coming in as second semester sophomores, or we have transfer students coming in with 90 credits, right? And they only need 30 credits to, I mean, this becomes really difficult. And maybe it's just because HPW and IPS is totally transfer based. It can become a real nightmare. And I know it's not your fault and you can't control it, but we're going to have to curricularly look at rearranging things and making our degrees, I don't know, more inclusive of all courses they potentially could take so we can count them, so to speak. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, no, and if you guys have questions about curricular changes or anything, and it's something that like you're wondering, will that make it aid eligible if we add it to the curriculum this way? We're more than happy to talk on that as well. We want to get the students as much as they can. So any changes that they have to have, we're more than happy to help you along with. If you have questions along the way, we're more than happy to answer those questions as well.
And do you think this might change as of next Monday on the 20th with a new administration?
I don't think so. We have not had a lot of changes that we're expecting with the new administration. It is, I believe, codified into law, so it's something that would have to go through Congress in order to change. Now I am supposed to be going to DC for an advocacy group, so I will be talking to Congress as well. Well, not Congress, the congressmen, our congressmen, as well. And this is one of the issues I will be bringing up for, like you said, this exact issue. We're trying to get these students to have internships. We want them to have minors to be job eligible. And we're going to see if we can move the needle. I'm not sure if we're going to accomplish anything, but we're going to do our best.
Hey, Lauren, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hey there, good to see you today. So hi everyone, my name is David. I am one of those first year advisors that Lauren's been mentioning a little bit here and there. I do want to give Lauren a quick shout out. She has been super helpful. So anytime these kind of weird issues do pop up, questions about course eligibility, things of that nature, I've had a ton of questions so far. Specifically with some transfer students as well, because when we do prepare to have students coming in during summer or winter, we work with transfers as well. I see a lot of transfers with some of the computer science students I work with who typically are looking for upper division credits that they can't fulfill just in their major. And sometimes they'll have maybe a computer science student in an English course or a history course because they expressed interest in it. And it might pop up initially as aid ineligible, but I can tell Lauren right away, hey, they need this, it meets upper division requirements for it. Shoots back to me an email, sounds good, we got it, and we take care of it. So as long as you can justify the rationale and reason for and how it gets them to degree requirements, Lauren has been always really, really awesome. So I'll definitely sing praises to that. One thing I do want to kind of ask question or clarify on as well, which I think can help at times. Scenario, student gets to 12 credits full-time, all aid eligible courses. They then want to take another course after that has nothing to do with their major, with GE, with anything. At that point, since they've met full-time kind of eligibility, full-time threshold and whatnot, that course is in the clear. It's not going to cost them anything extra or penalize them in any way, right?
Correct. So if they're 12 credits, for financial aid purposes, 12 credits is full-time enrollment. So if they're taking anything in excess of that, they're not going to see any changes to their aid. They're still going to get a notification like this class is aid ineligible, which could cause like questions about why it is aid ineligible. But at that point, they're not going to see any changes to their aid. If 12 credits is 12 credits for financial aid purposes, if they're taking anything in excess of that, they're not going to see changes.
Right. Yeah, that's like Lauren, as you said, like, one of the things we're starting to have conversations with, we started having these back during last summer when we started to see this kind of in earnest, is, to the extent that we can plan with students. And I think another individual on the conference here mentioned it is hard to plan for 2, 3, 4 years out. Students do change their mind, change their majors, realize they're not in the right major as well. But trying to be really intentional to the best degree that we can, being strategic at times, saying, okay, let's first get you to those 12 credits first. Now, what's that +1 course that we're going to take? And sometimes that can be the way, at least in how I'm already working with some students, and maybe they're trying to think about a minor, to maybe still get them there and also still get them within all their credit limits, really strategic. Not perfect, and it is more work on the advisor, more work on the students, and it's stressful, but trying to work within the system. But again, I just want to give a shout out to Lauren as well. You've been awesome so far, so I appreciate it.
So I have another question. Thank you. We have a lot of students that are repeating courses again and again and again. And so help me understand what happens when they're repeating courses. And they're in the major and they're taking it, intro to psych for the third time or microeconomics for the third time. And you're just like, they're usually a Pell recipient as well. Not always, but a lot of times, there are students that need a lot of support and we're trying to help them get through. What
So
happens?
it's gonna shock you to hear this, but the regs are a little bit complicated about this. So the short answer is 3 attempts is the maximum that you're allowed to take. After your 3rd attempt, you're not aid eligible. The caveat to this is you have to pass the course to get that 1 extra repeat. So I know that is complicated. Let me see if I can explain a little bit better. Essentially, once a student has passed a course and the feds have specified that a D is passing, it's not passing for what they need to get into like the next course. If they have a D or better in the course, they have considered passing, they get 1 additional attempt after that. If they have withdrawn or failed the course altogether, they can take it as many times as they want.
Okay,
But
so
once
if they withdraw or fail, they can take it 3 times with aid.
Yes.
Okay.
generally speaking, if you're having these students that are taking courses multiple times, once they sort of get to like they're on their third attempt, I would refer them over to our office for that information. We can kind of like look at their account and go over it with them. But like that is the general rule is if they've gotten to their third attempt, that take 3 attempts with aid.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I had my hand up before Michael or I haven't.
I
I'm
just had a
wondering.
question in
Go ahead,
regards
Michael.
to Sandy's remark or question about how if you get a D or if you get a D, then that means you get one more attempt with financial aid. But if you withdraw or fail, you get 3 attempts. So does this mean that withdrawing or failing is advantageous?
Mhm.
Is that more
Absolutely.
advantageous than a D from a financial aid standpoint?
From a financial aid standpoint, if they need to keep taking the course, yes, generally, if they're saying that on there, I might recommend that they take the withdraw instead of taking the fail on the account just for GPA purposes and everything like that. Keep in mind if they withdraw multiple times, there's other issues they can run into with financial aid, like our SAP requirements. So I wouldn't be advising them to just withdraw as much as they possibly can. But yes, if they think they may need to take this course multiple times, something they've really struggled with, a withdraw is going to be better than like a D essentially.
And since they can
Right,
withdraw
because
now up to the last day, that, you know, that's a advising thing. Like, okay, look, you're failing, withdraw from it. It's the last day. So,
Yeah.
right, because a lot of the math department that I belong to has a real problem of students, withdrawing or failing courses, and that looks really bad for, course GPA and semester to semester to statistics overall. But you're saying this is actually that's better than the students getting a D.
In terms of financial aid, and like I said, it depends on the student to student. If they think they only need another attempt on the record or something, or they want to push through and see if they can get a C they may need or something, that's up to the student at that point. From a financial aid perspective, they can keep taking the course if they do have a withdraw or fail on the record, yes.
Right.
I'll go. I don't know if this is possible. I'm just wondering about it, but we're seeing a ton of transfers coming into our audio program, and they a lot of them come from 2-year schools and more, but they come in and they're assuming that they're juniors and they'll be here for 2 more years, 4 semesters to complete their degree. However, they have a really high number of transfer credits that have been accepted, right? Sometimes they've changed their major, sometimes they're, we have a lot of music kids who load up on, applied music. They have lessons, ensembles, all this kind of stuff. Anyways, we tend to accept all of the credits that they have taken. I understand why we would want to do that, but in this situation, it can lead to problems for them.
Yes.
I've seen people, like I have one that's just supposed to be starting in the spring here, who, she's transferring in 90 credits because she has 4-year credits too. She's going to reach 120.
Yeah.
It's just what I'm trying to say is do we have to take all of their credits, or is there a way we could say, okay, you want to be here for 2 more years, 4 semesters, we'll only take 60 of your credits? Is that once they take the credits and they've been paid for, I'm sure it's kind of hard to say like, oh yeah. I don't know, Lauren, it's a weird one but I'm just trying to find ways around these.
This is something we've talked to both Ramin and the registrar about, and it does sound like it is a SUNY policy that we have to take everything that comes in that we possibly can, essentially. So that's not something that we can change. And again, the Fed regulation is anything the registrar takes, we have to accept as well. So it's not something that we can exclude on the financial aid side. And it does sound like the registrar is required by SUNY to take as many credits as possible.
Foiled again. Yeah.
Hi there. I was just thinking Dan's question made me think about our HDB program. and the sequence of core requirements. So for some students who are coming in with quite a few transfer credits, but because of the sequence of the core courses, it's an automatic 3-semester, possibly 4-semester duration of time that students need to spend with us. So if they're coming in with over 60 credits, but they need to spend 4 semesters here because of that sequence, how does that, excuse me, come into play for financial aid, looking at that there's a required sequence of prerequisites?
So are they prerequisites, or are they like courses have to be taken in a certain order?
They have to be taken in order. So 301 has to precede 302, which precedes 400. And if a student comes in without HDB 101, there's 4 courses in the sequence. So if summer works out, that's great. But if it doesn't, now we're looking at 3 or 4 semesters that, excuse me, regardless of what other requirements in the major need to be taken, because those are sequential, it really, it dictates the timeline for completion.
Yeah. So in that sort of situation, it would depend on what else the student needs to take. If those are the only courses they need, that's when they're going to run into trouble. If it's like, I only need to take 300 to get to 302 or something like that, and they only have those 3 credits, that could be an issue. Otherwise, it would be something that I would recommend the student talks to us about. And we can, again, see if we can get them to at least 6 credits and see if we can get them the course, what aid we can get them at that point. What their requirements are. Students have different requirements for, like, I'm living off campus. I need additional funds to help me live off campus that they may not get if they're not a full-time student. That's something that we can help them with at that point as well, and let them know their options.
Thank you.
So Lauren, do we need to hire another person in financial aid to do the work you used to do? Because now you have to do this full time.
Well, especially this time of year, just be patient with me, because I have a bunch of emails in my inbox all about course program of study. So just be patient with me. I'm getting to all of them. I think we have another question.
Yeah, you were talking earlier about minority priority, about making sure that, I guess, there's enough financial aid for students who want to add a minor to their major or anything like that. Because the math department does often recommend a lot of computer science and education students to add on a math minor to their curriculum. Does that get affected at all by financial aid? Should we be worrying about recommending that to students, or will there be any problems with doing that sort of thing going forward?
I mean, I wouldn't hesitate to recommend that they take the math minor or anything. Like I said, if they're going to run into these issues in their senior year, that's something we can address at that time. Maybe just if you're seeing that there are like a lot of credits to students transferring in, or they may run into this issue, maybe let them know this could be an issue they're going to run into. That's just entirely dependent on their financial aid and what their record looks like.
This whole thing with minors, it's forcing us to do what we used to say we didn't want to do. We used to say, oh, you can't, we want people to do a minor. We want them to complete it. And now we're just saying, screw it, take the minor and you're going to drop it your senior, spring. Don't worry about it. And we can, and that's what I'm telling people. And I was a chair that used to say, no, we're not taking people and they can't drop the minor. Now it's like, well, it's forcing us to do that with advising and planning, and then I think carefully about, because we have some of the largest minors in the college and HPW. The coaching minor has like 200 students, and nutrition and health science. But sometimes I'm telling my advisees, take these courses first and foremost, because you may not finish it. And then, Dan, this is what you want to tell them. On your resume, you can say you had a concentration or a focus in your music thing or your video thing. Nobody really cares. I mean, in the job world, they'll see it on your transcript, some courses. I mean, I hate to say that, but if they have a chunk of courses, we can call it a focus or concentration. But it's sad that that's what it's come down to, that we're sort of telling students, yeah, take the minor, but we're going to have to drop it, at some point, because if money is an issue, not everybody, it's an issue, but a lot of our students, it is an issue. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just making us kind of, I can change the curriculum. Yep. I can change advising. Sure. Is it the best thing for our students? I don't know. But, we can play that. It's forcing us to play the game. And It's just kind of too bad. And I also do study abroad. So yeah, Josh, I'm glad you asked that because I'm thinking, we used to be like, great, our study abroad is upper division credits and it's 6 credits in the summer and you can use your financial aid. But now it's like, oh, it's not part of the major or the minor. So we're going to start building it in
Yeah,
there,
but
But
here's the
she's,
thing. But here's
yeah.
the thing. They can, as long as it's for, Rod's told me this, as long as it's for credit, they can take it.
If it's
But the
under
problem is,
100, if it's under the 120
yeah,
credits.
is as they
Yeah.
approach graduation, it seems to be the
Yeah.
main issue.
Yeah.
And Lauren, I appreciate that clarification because
Yeah.
that, with change comes concern, right? And so that's what people are hearing.
Of course, and there's so many students are in so many different situations too that things come up all the time. Like we understand that.
I had a sort of a tactical question, Lauren, if you have a minute, but I don't want to take away from others if they have substantive questions. Okay, so I deal with regulatory agencies also, Homeland Security, Department of State, sometimes FBI. I mean, pretty heavy stuff related to immigration and international student and scholar issues. And so I know the audit process and how, a federal agency reviews you, and at least from my perspective, my point of view. Invariably, first of all, they don't, contrary to popular belief, they don't like lop off your hand if you make a mistake.
True.
They're not coming in to punish you. Sometimes people get so nervous when these things happen. They happen all the time, state and fed. But invariably, what Homeland Security, for example, will say to us is, if you make a mistake, whatever, correct it for next time. But what are your institutional policies? That invariably they come back to that. In other words, the federal government is not setting one rubric for the whole country. It wouldn't work. There are too many institutions, too many variables, right? So they rely on us as professionals to keep up with training and keep up with knowledge. But in the end, whenever there's sort of a gray area, they say, follow your institutional policy. So I'm just curious, so tactically, how does this play out for you? Do you get visits from the U.S. Department of Education? Do they audit you? Do they hammer you if you make mistakes? Because if there's discretion, professional discretion within your world, like there is with ours, as long as you're an honorable person trying to do your best, there's not much to fear from this. You see what I'm getting at?
Yes. So we do get audited by the feds, and we can also get what's known as a program review, which is where they basically set up camp in our office and review the entire school's financial aid policies at that point. They do give us some professional discretion. There's certain areas that we can't have that in, and then they do expect us to have our own policies and procedures. Unfortunately, this is not one of them that they have given us any leeway on. And there are other schools, including the University of Miami, and I believe SUNY Buffalo, but don't quote me on SUNY Buffalo. I know University of Miami have gotten program reviews, and they have gotten fines in the millions of dollars due to what they've deemed as not sufficiently implementing course program of study.
Okay. I'm wondering in those cases if it's like a willful violation versus just honest mistake. And if and we have to deal with that too. If you're willfully violating a regulation that you shouldn't, that's an issue. But the issues like Dan and Sandy are mentioning, these are real gray area types of issues that sometimes people err on the side of not helping the student because they think they're going to get in trouble, right? My exposure to that is, as a professional, you don't get in trouble, but just have a rationale for why you made this decision versus like willfully deny it.
I mean, like I said, it would depend probably on whoever was doing the audit themselves. But generally speaking, we do have to, like, we can't just say we've got a rationale for why we did this. The feds have the rules like about the minors and things like that. If we say, well, I can justify why the student has a minor, the feds don't really care at that point. That would be a violation at that point. It kind of just depends. We try and give the students as much leeway as we can. Unfortunately, the feds do kind of bootstrap us at that point. All right, any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Of course. And like I said, I am going to be your point of contact for this. So if you have any questions along the way, you have a student that you think needs to be referred to me, or you say like, I know the student, I've been working with them, they need 6 credits to graduate, but we're trying to get them to full-time status. I'm more than happy to have those conversations with both you and the student, or with the student specifically. Whatever you guys are most comfortable with, I'm more than happy to help. And like I said, if you have students that are in this situation, or you guys yourselves have questions, please feel free to refer them to me specifically. Okay.
Thank you.
And
This
any-
was
Thank
great.
you.
Bye bye.
Thanks,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Of course. You guys have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks.